Hey there. This is Dr. Pam Perry, and we are going to talk about all things communication, journalism, having an award-winning journalist. She was one of the broadcast journalists of the year of NABJ in Philly. She's a cross between Philly and New York. She is the real deal. And we met at NABJ at their 50th event. We did a session called From Byline to Brandline. It was me, her, Terry, Winona Redmond, and Ashley Demi. We all were on there, but today I just have Aundrea Cline-Thomas on today, and we're going to be talking about what's really going on in the media. So much is changing. I mean, since the last time I saw her last August, a lot has changed. The news world is getting smaller and smaller, but this is about how you can fit in so you can get in. Okay, and I'm bring her up right after this.
Welcome to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast. Join Pam Perry, veteran PR strategist, Emmy award-winning producer and publisher of Speakers Magazine, who will show you how to crack the code in getting out there to get known. Each week, she either interviews her media friends, PR colleagues, or she just goes solo, offering you strategies on publicity, publishing, and platform building. So listen up to hear how to get booked on media places and on superstar stages. Now, here's your host, Pam Perry.
Hey there. I am Aundrea. Okay. I messed it up and I was like, please give me the phonetic. She knows. She said, and I remember when I was doing the moderation of the panel, I said, it looks like Aundrea, but it's like, no, it's Aundrea.
Yes.
So tell a little bit about where you're from. So you're living between New York and Philly.
New York and DC is where I lived. I grew up in Maryland, and I'm actually just coming back here, back to New York today from spending like 5 days in Maryland, but I'm between New York and the DC area.
Okay, so the DMV okay, good. All right, so I definitely have to see you because I come to DMV often. So tell us a little bit about your background. I know you like to travel, so tell us where your parents are from because I found that interesting. I didn't know that until I read the formal bio, the longer bio, right?
Yes. My parents are from Sierra Leone, West Africa. And so I grew up going there as a kid. Every other year we'd go because I had a ton of family there growing up. A lot of them have either gone to England or come to the States. But that is a foundation. That's why I'm a journalist, because I got to see people of different cultures. And I was so curious about how people lived. And it just really piqued my curiosity and also my love of politics. And so those trips really were so formative in shaping me and shaping my worldview.
Okay, so you love politics. So you're right in the smack of it over there. Okay, so that's a good thing. So we did we did a session together. It was Terry, you, Ashley, Winona. I think I'm not missing anybody. Okay, yeah, all of us together. And so we were talking really from byline to brandline because we saw that the journalism world was shrinking, that people you can go to school for journalism and you can either work for TV, radio, or newspaper, or magazine. That's not the case anymore. So a lot of people are taking their skills of journalism. Part of it is writing, but a lot of it is being curious, what you just said, and how are they using it in other places? So you then created a company, startyourrewrite.com, but then also too, it's Mountain Court Media. Okay, so tell us where that name came from before we get to the other one. So we start your rewrite. We know that pretty much, but give us the name of how that came about, because you left broadcasting as a journalist, award-winning journalist, and then wanted to do something else. So tell us about this company.
Yeah, so Mountain Court Media. Mountain Court is the street my mother grew up on in Sierra Leone. And so that's the core of how I approached journalism, was just, centering people who are put on the periphery. So growing up, Sierra Leone was always named one of the poorest countries in the world. But when I went there, I saw you see a lot of poverty, but I also saw a lot of joy. I also saw a lot of hope. I also saw just deep culture and so much love. And so that's the foundation of my company, is really working on projects. I help individuals and businesses tell stories that have an impact. So that's through media training, that's through producing live journalism events, that's through producing creative projects. So that's one part of my business. And then the other part is started with the rewrite, which is helping journalists and storytellers reassess, reimagine, and reinvent their careers in the face of the instability. And what I found is that a lot of folks transition and they go to usually comms, right? Because that's a natural progression.
Mhm.
What I've done is I've created a portfolio career. And so I'm able to work with everything from Fortune 500 companies to startups. And that has opened my aperture in ways that I never imagined. And so I'm able to see what's happening in the market in real time in a way that I am trying to create what I needed when I transitioned with all the insight that I'm getting and working with all of my clients right now and what I'm learning about how to exist in this world more broadly. And the great part about it, because we talk about it with so much sadness, and there is a lot of sadness, but there should also be a lot of hope. There's so much out there. People
It
are
is a lot.
incredible work. Storytelling is not reserved to this small little space anymore. Everywhere needs storytellers, and you can still tell stories with fidelity, with the joy that brought you to journalism. It can exist in a lot more places now. And so that's, if there's anything people take away, it's with that hope that there's just so much more out there. The world is so big.
I like the fact that you said that there is so much more opportunity out there. And so I like the fact that you gave homage to your mother's street name, right? So you got Mountain Court. Because I was like, well, where did that come from? Is it a mountain that was named there? Okay, so that part right there. And so if you are a journalist and say you were at the Washington Post or you were at NPR or any of those type of places, what would you start with? Say, okay, maybe those jobs are shrinking. Where do you guide people to go first? Like, do you have them do a self-assessment? Do they take a quiz? So kind of walk us through that.
Yes. So I have a framework called the Empower Framework. And the first step is to pause. It's envision, right? You have to first, because everybody's like, okay, this happened. They haven't processed their feelings. They haven't really thought about, well, what did I do? What can I be proud of? You know, they haven't given themselves props, but you can't, I call it taking a moment to recalibrate your GPS. You have to figure out where you want to go because the world is so broad. And sometimes it's hard. Being a journalist, I thought I was exposed to so much, right? I was like, I have interviewed people on dirt roads. I've interviewed people in the penthouse. Like that was what I was telling folks. And then I got into the world and I was like, actually, I have existed very much in a bubble. But because there's so much optionality out there, you have to be very clear about, you know, there are lots of roads. You have to figure out what your road is before you start to traverse it. And that can change. There'll be diversions along the way, but you first have to understand, what are you good at? What do you want to do? It's not even just what you're good at. Because we're as journalists, we're all multi-talented. We can do a lot of things well, more than the average person, honestly. So you have to figure out, what do you want to do in this new season? This is an opportunity. It's a blow. But also, if you can take time to grieve, but then emerge with saying, okay, this is an opportunity. How do you want to serve moving forward? What are the things about you that set you apart? Saying you're a storyteller is not enough. Because everybody's a storyteller. A PR person is a storyteller, an advertiser is a storyteller, an influencer is a storyteller, anybody on social media is a storyteller. So storytelling what? How? Are you a great project manager? Are you telling stories about a specific thing? Do you have a certain area of expertise? You have to lean into those areas. That's one. The second thing that people must do that often gets skipped over, whether they've lost their job or not, is you have to look at your money. We don't talk about money a lot. We talk about this manifestation, but we're grown. We have real responsibilities, and the goal is not to get into scarcity. So right now, if your paycheck stopped today, how much runway would you have to where before your money ran out? And I'm not talking about your 401k account. That should be the very, very, very last option. We don't want a short-term circumstance to impact your long-term like wealth development, right? So that's your savings or like your liquid money where you could get money quickly. What would that look like for you? And it's no judgment. It's no judgment. If you don't have enough, And enough these days, it's really hard, is that it's at least 6 months. Most of us don't have 6 months of savings. Just like that's just typical.
Housing is taking a third or sometimes half.
Yeah, I mean, in New York,
depending on where you live.
Yeah, exactly. But then if you don't know, if you don't have enough saved, because it's taking people at least 6 months. If you get a job within 6 months, it's short in this market.
In this economy,
in this economy. So if you don't have at least 6 months, then you have to learn how to monetize your expertise. So that's not starting a business, but that's saying if you are good in an area, that you put your feelers out there to see if people can pay you to do some work. In a freelance capacity, just think about it like freelancing. So you can buy your time, because what we don't want is people to get into scarcity. So many people do not look at their money situation and assess it and monetize their expertise right from the beginning once they realize they might not have enough. And so the jobs on, day 5 that you're like, I never want to do that. When it comes to month 2, they start looking attractive. And then by month 3, you get straight up desperate, right? And so you can never make good decisions from desperation. So we need to understand that before anything happens, you need to be very clear about your money. And go ahead.
And that lets people take their power back.
Yes.
Because one of the things that you said is like, look at it from what are you good at? What is your expertise and how to monetize that? And that reminds me of when I just had my daughter. This was 30 years ago. I read a book on how to make a living without a job, because I was working for a nonprofit. I was a PR director. I was a Salvation Army, and I liked the job. I really did. In my 20s and early 30s, it was perfect. But when I had my daughter, my priorities changed, and I didn't want to go into the office every day. I really wanted to just have more flexibility of how I did what I did. And this was way before people were working from home. Okay.
Yes.
So that was not an option. They were like, what do you mean you work from home? You better bring your butt to this office.
Right.
This desk. And so I read this book, How to Make a Living Without a Job. And really, it opened my eyes for the first time ever, because I didn't even think that was a thing. So if I was good at writing, I can write speeches. I can edit books. I could do newsletters. It was just like so many things and the lady happened to be a writer. So that it kind of spoke to me, but it was the skill of writing and then also doing event planning. And those, I didn't realize that those were things like that was, I guess you could be in a job and be an event planner, but I didn't know you could actually, at this time, this was like 1998, right? I didn't know that you could really do those type of things. I was like, I can really make a potpourri or a collage of different things that I like to do, and then put the feelers out that, hey, I can do this, I can do that. Do you know anyone that needs this service? Or even call on companies and say, like right now, it's like, have companies, I can produce your podcast. I could help you with any type of thing that you're good at, that you love to do. So what I did was I wrapped my passion around what I love to do, what I was good at, and then I really created the business around that. And that was the way. And it was about the money, because when I was making the money, I was like, okay, I was married, and my husband was like, are you going to go back to work? I said, I don't think so. And I was like, he was like, well, you gotta do something. And so that's when I said, let me look at how many newsletters I could do, how much editing I can do, whatever. And then if it made up the difference of what I was making, I was like, oh, okay. So it doesn't have to look like I've got to go to an office, sit at a desk and do these things. And it really became a choice that I could work with the type of clients that I really want to work with too. So that was the other part that was the most attractive to me, and then have my freedom. So I really do like the fact that you said we sit with the part where, okay, life is not the same. What do I like to do? And then really get clear on it, because if you're clear on it, then you can articulate it to sell it. That's the whole point. Is you pitching.
That's the thing. It's the selling part. I'm so glad you used the word sell, because that makes us feel as journalists like,
no, you got to sell it. You got to sell it. But if you're clear on it, you can sell it.
Yes.
You know your value proposition. You know what it is that you can do. And you may stumble through some things. So, Aundrea, I had a business where I thought I liked meeting planners. It was called Special Event and Meeting Planners. And I like going to meetings. I like facilitating meetings. But girl, organizing meetings was a whole nother thing. I was like, oh Lord, I cannot do that. That's not and so part of it was like, it sounded like I could, and people were like, oh, I want you to set up my fundraiser. I want you to do and it was stressful. I was like, ooh, but after this last fundraiser, I think I did one for UNCF. I was like, this is not my gift.
Mm-hmm.
It's just way too much stress. Now I don't mind promoting the event,
Mm-hmm.
and getting the press for the event and getting that there, but actually doing the logistics in the event, I was like, that's a whole nother thing. So you will think some things and maybe make a list like, this is a bucket of things I like to do, and try the different buckets. And then some of them are like, no, not so much. Or something that you love to do, the people, you gotta know this, something you love to do, but you don't get paid a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So that means either one, you gotta either find different clients that will pay more money for that, or sell a lot of it. And can you scale it if you don't get paid a lot of money to do something? So example of someone that says, I love emceeing events. Okay, fine. Well, there's not a lot of emceeing events, and then they don't pay as much as a keynote speaker.
Mm-hmm.
So you may love it, but it ain't gonna pay. So what do you do? How do you patch that together? Like you said, you got 2 weeks or you got a couple of months before the money runs out. What are you going to do? And that's where I think people are really at this point where they're afraid.
Yes.
I've known people that what they call, they have taken Band-Aid jobs where they are Ubering in between, or Uber Eats, or whatever they have to do. But it's just like, it's quote unquote the gig economy. I think we talked about it at NABJ. It was a gig economy. So you're a freelancer, you can write a story, you can pitch a story. Let's just say you have a client and they say, well, I really like you to get me in this particular magazine. The magazine may pay you as well to write the story. And then also the client will pay you as well. So the client is paying you to pitch it to, let's just say, AARP. Okay. And you're getting the story in AARP. They pay you as a byline, but then also too, you've got the client in there as well. So think of things like that. I'm so glad that you said, think about the money, because if they don't, like you said, they'll start taking those crappy jobs at the end of a couple of months.
And that just continues to be demoralizing, because there is an emotional impact here from going through this. Transitions are hard, no matter how prepared you are. They are very, very hard, But I also want to double click on what you said, that some things you'll try and you don't like, and that is okay. It's all information. And sometimes people don't know where to go. And they think it's, oh, I'm not trying hard enough, or I'm just not smart enough. And no, you just don't have enough data points, because you had the privilege of being a dreamer and being part of the very few people who actually met your dreams. You actually fulfilled your dreams. Most people don't do that. So congratulations on being a dreamer. That allowed you to have tunnel vision to be really great in your career. But now you can lift your head up and look around and try some things. And so knowing what you don't like is just as important as finding what you do.
It really is.
Yeah.
I see that J. Richard Bird joined us, and he's been a content creator for a long time. He says platforms like this matter when you put seasoned storytellers in the room who understand the weight of underrepresented voices. That's true. The content hits different tuning in. That is so true. I had a friend that worked for BET. BET went through a whole bunch of different things, and she was a producer and just saw herself as a producer, always a producer in television. Well, one day, somehow or another, she picked up a camera, and I think she was taking pictures just for fun for Facebook. And somehow or another, because she knew a lot of people, so she had like a lot of famous pictures, right? Somehow or another, she caught the attention of Aretha Franklin on Facebook. And she got a DM. She thought it was fake. She was like, who is trying to act like this is Aretha Franklin?
Right.
And it was her. And Aretha said, I'd like you to take my pictures, whatever it was, like to be my official photographer for this particular event. Now, she didn't have she could have went into imposter syndrome and said, oh, I don't know how to do that. But she went and she got a camera. She went to the camera store, showed me how to work it. I'm going to do this thing. And she's a full-time photographer. People love what she does. Her name is Montez. And Montez is taking pictures at the basketball games, at the Super Bowl, concerts, all the things, right? But what if she would have said, you know what, I'm really just a TV producer, I got to find me another TV producer job, and then she would have never tried anything else. but because she dreamed, and now she is that photographer. That's what she does now. She's a photojournalist, basically. Now that's like what she does.
That's incredible.
Never would have thought. And so I want people to know to build their brand, because a lot of times when you worked in broadcasting, so Aundrea, you had a brand, but it was like your brand in the TV.
Not really.
Yeah.
Not really. You know, I didn't do a good job of that, really. What I did do a good job of was meeting people in person. I was the person who was going to different conferences and different events when I really was in Nashville. So I went from I was in Macon, Georgia, Charlotte, Nashville, Philly, New York. And so when I went in Nashville was when I started really saying I might need a rewrite, because people were just getting laid off and the MMJ thing was happening. And I just saw the, like, you know, what's happening. And there might be a time when I don't actually want to do it this way.
Yeah.
And it comes to a point, I never want to be out of options. That was my goal. I didn't know what it would look like, but I always wanted to have an option because that just felt powerful to me. And so I was like, well, if I don't do this, well, what do people get paid for? And I was like, speaking. So I started, and I felt uncomfortable doing it. So I started going out to events and saying, hey, I'll host your thing. And I was in church basements, and I was in, you know, like all the local organizations hosting their events, sweating while I was doing it because it made me so nervous. But I built up a muscle doing that. And then coming to New York, Philly first is where I got the advice that I was told, because Philly for work is very insular. When you're not from Philly, they're like, you're not from here. And so to get stories, you had to really have people vouch for you on scenes and stuff like that. And so I had to get good with people. So I had to go out on my off time, which was a great muscle to build because I made wonderful friends outside of news. And then I had a coach tell me, if everything crashed and burned today, who will you call? Who are the 3 people you would call, not to commiserate with, but who could open the door to a new opportunity? And my circle was all news people. And I was like, well, they're not going to be able to help me. And so I needed to broaden my circle to include people from all different disciplines. And so it exposed me in such wonderful ways. And so I just want to also go back to what you were saying just about like monetizing your expertise. I have a woman in my program who she has a job in a company that's actually profitable, which is like hard to believe right now.
Must be in tech.
Right. But she does, and it's actually journalism, but she does project management, and she does it on the side. And that's thousands of dollars she's getting on the side. So it's real money. We're not talking about $100. We're talking about money that can actually pay bills, like your mortgage or rent, that can actually pay bills. And she's doing it on the side. And so, and she's, you know, it's fine. It's all cleared. But she's in a job she loves, that she wants to be in, but now she has this cushion if the bottom falls out, right? Because she's just stacking her checks. She's paying off her debt. She's doing all this to put her in a financial place, because the more money you have, the more risk you can take, the more exploration that you can have in your life to figure out this new season.
I love that. And she can invest, she can buy real estate. I mean, those are the things that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So Aundrea, did you, just really quick, did you know a Darieth Chisholm in Philadelphia? She may have been gone by when you were there. So she was a journalist. She was an anchor in Philly. I'm pretty sure it's Philly. It could have been Pittsburgh. Okay, I'm getting the piece together. I think it was Pittsburgh. But anyway, she left journalism, kind of retired, you know, a certain time, you know, they like you to retire. And Darieth had been in broadcasting her entire life. And she is now a health coach. And how she got there was really from a lot of burnout from being in the business for so long. I mean, from the standpoint where she goes and she takes these women retreats and that sort of thing. Now, when she first left broadcasting, what people told her to do was to help be a media trainer. Okay, so it's kind of like related. And then she was helping people with media training and this and that. And to her, it was like, I'm still doing the same thing. It's like, it's the same thing. So she really made a pivot, and she really went on hikes across the country and just discovered herself and found herself. And it is completely different. When I tell you she's a completely different person, looks so much happier, helping women with these spiritual women's retreats and all that. And it would have never happened if she would have just like, okay, I'm gonna be a broadcaster, I'm gonna retire, and I'm gonna go sit down. No, now she has a whole new life to doing these things. And that's where I really hear that you're saying that first thing, that when you start your rewrite.com, they do an assessment, you help them rewrite their life. How do they want to live it? They have these skills, and people are saying, oh, well, you can only use a skill doing this, this, and this. But when you're in media, you can do other things. You can write website copy. You can do events. I mean, this person's a project manager. I mean, she could do those. I mean, it's like, it's so much that you really can do. I call it there's people that are good with numbers and sciences, and then those that are good with words and the arts. And there's a whole lot you can do with the words and the arts, but so much, even with ChatGPT.
Right. And speaking of that, though, with AI and how it's transforming the workplace, because it is, but I think that's where journalists can have a competitive edge, because we have the soft skills that a lot of folks don't have. But newsrooms are different because so many people possess the same skills. You believe that it's normal. So being able to work under pressure, being able to work with multiple deadlines, staying calm during it, generating a high value content every single day, that's not normal. It is not normal, but we think it is because we exist in bubbles, where everybody has a very similar skill set, being type A, dealing with taking in all the information that we're taking in, processing it very quickly,
2 minutes,
distilling it down, right? So it can reach an audience in a way that they can understand it. That is a skill. And so working with my clients, I didn't know how much of a skill it was until I worked with my clients, and I would get gosh, you're so calm, or you don't need a whole lot of direction. We just tell you, and then you go ahead and get it done. These are the things that AI cannot duplicate. Your soft skills, being able to speak to strangers, being able to maintain your professionalism, all of these things, being able to understand audience with nuance, being able to be at the fire and be, in the corporate office, be with government officials, like being able to be in any environment and finding that common ground. AI cannot replace that. And so those are the skills that you need to lean into and have rise to the top, because that is really what will set you apart.
I love that. That is so true. You will never replace that. And what you said too, it's like you just took for granted that those were the things that everybody can do. And people notice it that are outside of that field, like, how are you doing that? And it's like, doesn't everybody? It's like, no, not everybody. No, this is definitely a skill of being trained in that area. So that is good. So when people go to startyourrewrite.com, what will they find there as we kind of wrap up?
Yeah. So what they'll find there. So I say for the rewrite, you choose your adventure. So we have a quiz where you take the quiz and you'll get direct links to resources immediately. We have a guide that you can get, a transferable skills guide, which is it takes your newsroom language and it translates it into speak that more people can understand. Because part of the Empower framework is that you have to become visible, right? You have to understand how to tell your story, but nobody knows what journalists do. They consume it, but they have no clue how the sausage is made. So you must be the translator. You must connect the dots, but you have to understand how to do that. So it literally gives you language. If these are your job responsibilities, here's how to say it in a completely different way. I send out emails every single week with tips on from managing your mental health to landing that interview, how to navigate the interview, how to negotiate, all of that stuff. On March 24th, I have a webinar coming up with Rick Carr. He's an attorney. He's an attorney who I use to help me negotiate my contracts with the state that journalists are in right now. And we're going to be talking about everything from the changes that are being made because of the consolidations, right? Contracts are looking different. companies are protecting themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and that usually does not protect you as a journalist. What you need to know, what you need to do out in the field to protect yourself, because we have an administration that is going after journalists. So there's specific things that you need to do. We can't always, because of the way the companies are dealing with the administration, I don't think we can fully rely on companies 100% anymore to have our backs, right, out in the field. And so how to protect yourself. So we're going to be going through step by step the different things that you really need to be doing, the documentation that you need, the ways to negotiate in this climate to meet this moment. So that's March 24th, 7 p.m. Eastern. And if you can't make the time, then I guess you could just startyourrewrite.com. Yeah, just sign up for something or take a quiz, and then you'll get the emails for everything that we've got.
I love that. That is so good. Coming up in August, NABJ, 51 years. Will you be there?
Yes, I'm planning on being there.
Yes. Okay. I'm planning on being there too as well. So maybe we'll do a session again together or something like that for sure. But for sure we'll do a selfie. Okay.
Yes, 100%. 100%. I go to Detroit again.
Yes. And I think the regional for NABJ is in Columbus, and that's in April. I don't know. I don't think the DMV is in that area though, but I think you all are in a different region. We're in region 3. Yeah,
no, we're in a different region, but is that next week? No, that's a media related one. Is next week in April. I can't make those in April because I was asked to go to a number of them. My region is in Philadelphia. Theirs in Philadelphia.
Okay, yeah, that's true. That's probably closer to that way. Yes, because more East Coast. So yes. So anyway, it is so good talking with you. This has been so enlightening. You're just so brilliant. I just love the way you process this pivot that a lot of journalists are doing and going through. I mean, they're taking the title that you call yourself as a content strategist, but really more so kind of like a career coach for a lot of journalists as well. So you're helping them kind of navigate this whole new terrain.
Yes.
And it's not just journalists. It can be anybody who's in communications, because there's a lot of people, especially in the DC area. There's over 300,000 African-American women that lost their jobs. A lot of them were in comms and they're still looking for jobs. I mean, they can find quote unquote jobs, but they're not paying the wages that they were used to getting before, because it's supply and demand. So, they got more supply than they need demand for. So anyway, that's a whole nother thing. But your seminar on the 24th will help people negotiate better. And that's really the thing. So I love that. I love that. Yeah. But yeah, that is so good. I just really thank everybody for joining us, for tuning in today. Go to startyourrewrite.com. Follow her. What is your IG and all that stuff? What's your favorite? Do you do Substack?
I don't, but I have a newsletter through startyourrewrite.com. So I write a newsletter every single week to folks. With chock full of information. And I have a podcast called The Next Best Thing. So if you're not specifically a journalist, I talk to everybody, right? Where I'm interviewing people about how to successfully transition. So yes, on Aundrea CT on Instagram. I play on LinkedIn a lot. That's probably my favorite platform. And then startyourrewrite.com. It is just chock full. I got lots of stuff for you. So
I love that.
Yes, sign up.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining. Get out there, get known today. I am Pam Perry, Pam Perry PR. Take my quiz, pamperrypr.com. It shows whether you're bookable or how bookable you are for media. So you take the quiz, 10 questions, and it'll rank you. And then you'll see the gaps of where you need to really fill in terms of what you need to do in order to be bookable. All right. With that, I'm Pam Perry and I'm out. Thanks a lot. Talk to you later. Bye-bye. Bye.
You've been listening to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast, brought to you by PamPerryPR.com, where you'll get insider tips on how to build your platform, pitch the media, and promote yourself with confidence. Head over to PamPerryPR.com and get the exclusive video training on the 7 must-have marketing materials you need before you pitch in order to be considered in media places or superstar stages. PamPerryPR.com, where you